What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 325. Hope all of you are doing amazing this Sunday. Basically, it's Sunday, but when the episode comes out, it's Monday. I was spending a lot of time with close friends and family. So, I'm getting to the office really late at night right now and recording the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. I hope you guys have had an amazing weekend, right? Family time is always important, so spend time with your family while you can because you never know when it's the last moment that you can spend with them. So let's get into the news, and quite frankly, I'm going to be honest with you guys, there really isn't that much news. I was even debating on if I should record a podcast right now, but I saw some things and I was like, you know what, this would be interesting to discuss. So first, let's start with the Young Thug trial. There is an update. Young Thug's long-running YSL trial took yet another wild turn this week when a witness for the prosecution was sent to prison for 5 years after his testimony on the stand didn't match the facts in his plea agreement. That person done fucked up. You can't go on the stand. That's why they put your hand up. You swear on the Bible and all that you're telling the truth. Per Atlanta's Fox 5, Antonio Sledge, who testified early last month, was taken into custody on Friday, October 18th, when Judge Paige Reese Whitaker ruled that his behavior on the stand violated his deal with the state. Sledge's plea deal agreement, which allowed him to avoid prison time and instead land 15 years of probation, hinged on him agreeing to 16 factual acknowledgments about the YSL and specifically about the number of Donovan Nutt Thomas and Thug's alleged role in its aftermath. On January 10, 2015, after the murder of Donovan Thomas Jr., defendant and other YSL associates gathered at the home of Jeffrey Williams, a.k.a. Young Thug, who gave the defendant and other YSL associates cash money to lay low, one reads. However, on the stand, Sledge changed his story, repeatedly saying, "I don't recall," in response to questions about the killing. Judge Whitaker came down hard on Sledge's behavior, accusing him of violating the Solomon oath that he took when he said that he understood every term with the plea agreement factual acknowledgments. He was notified that the entirety of his 15-year probation could be revoked if he violated his deal, the judge continued. There is not a proper regard for the judicial system and the seriousness with which an oath is in court needs to be taken. Judge Whitaker revoked 5 years of Sledge's probation, and he was taken into custody immediately, despite his request to have time to get things in order. He could have probably said that because he might have been fearing for his life, because once you testify, you take the stand, there could be a lot of repercussions to that, whether to him or his family that's actually free in the world. But there's this whole trial has a lot of he said, she said. In terms of facts, I don't know yet. Like I said, the trial has been very confusing to me. There's been some stuff I've kept up with, some stuff I haven't. But, there really hasn't been, for example, right, the Young Dolph trial. There was cameras that were following the people. There was, evidence of clothing, of fingerprints, stuff like that. And this, it doesn't seem like, just seems like people just said, hey, this and that. But, I mean, it is a little bit, in 2015, were there cameras everywhere in 2015? Not as much as now. Let's just say that. Now, when Dolph got killed, which is 2020, I believe 21, damn, time flies. There was a lot more cameras, obviously, versus 2015. But, he's facing now, he's going to be serving 5 years in prison, no longer 15 years probation. So we'll keep our eyes posted and see what happens moving forward. Speaking of Young Thug, he recently went on Twitter, a.k.a. X, and tweeted from jail. And it caused a whole storm because I think if Young Thug was free, he would be the one that would be able to mitigate the situation, be the middleman of the situation. And it seems like from jail, he's looking to do that. He tweeted this: Drake, Future, Metro Boomin. We all brothers. Music ain't the same without us collabing. Right? Everybody's losing their mind after this tweet. Everybody's like, yeah, thank you, Thug, for saying what we all been thinking. But I think Drake, here's the thing, right? I think Future retweeted that, by the way. Let me see, just to make sure, because I could have swore I saw he retweeted that. Yeah, he retweeted it, so Future agrees with that. Drake, on the other hand, hasn't said anything. From what I've seen, Drake, Future, Young Thug, I don't think he said anything. Future retweeted it, but that's it. Yeah, Drake hasn't said a single word. If you remember on the, I think it was Family Matters, Lil Wayne, he a fucking lame, I think it was, might have been Push. I don't know, man. Where he says Lil Wayne, he a fucking lame. He's talking about Metro Boomin. Put his pan to it. I forget what he said. Yeah, so it was on Family Matters. He said, let me see. Let me get this word for word. Blue shit make me sick to my stomach. We ain't never really been through it. Lil Wayne, he a fucking lame. So I know he had an influence. So he's talking about Metro Boomin. This, to me, makes it very clear that, at least I think in Drake's eyes, he's like, hey, this can be potentially resolved, me and Future. Now, I don't know if him and Metro Boomin could be resolved, but him and Future can. And I don't know if Future's willing to accept just their relationship being resolved. I think Future's willing to accept if Metro Boomin and him are cool with Drake. But I think Drake has a sour taste in his mouth from helping a lot of these artists. And let's be honest, he's helped a lot of these artists. Some of these artists have never gotten a billion streams by themselves. Some of these artists have never gotten #1 hits without Drake. That's just the reality of the situation. I don't care which way you flip it. I know Future is his own artist. He's had his own impact and influence. But the #1s and the big hit records have mainly come from Drake. As far as Metro Boomin stood on his own 2 feet. He's had hit records with other people as well, but obviously with Drake, it's helped as well. But I do think, like I've said this from the day the beef started, I think the Drake and Future thing will eventually get resolved. I said that before, and I wholeheartedly think that's going to happen. This tweet sent shockwaves. You have Drake stands saying that why should Drake go back? He's not going to help these guys. They're going to come back crawling to him because they're not going to be able to make hits anymore. I can see that. Drake could be like, hey, I don't want to rock with you guys anymore, and it is what it is, right? You guys need to survive out here without me helping you guys. But to be quite honest, Drake hasn't really done much after this beef. The music hasn't hit like it was doing. And I like the record, some of the tracks he's dropped off those like free, whatever, those packages he was dropping. And then he dropped a new track with some Spanish artists. First off, the record sounds like ass cheeks. No disrespect to them, but the song is terrible. And the song didn't even get a million streams. Its release. It only got like 800,000, which is very low for anything Drake related, right? Drake can do 1 million streams in a day easy, but this track didn't do that. I think the Drake impact, the stimulus package, really ain't hitting like that because most people would flock to that record. And I went to go look at the views. It reached 1 million views in 2 days. Now, granted, this is an artist these are artists because there's a few people on the track that aren't really known that like huge in terms of hip hop, but you get the Drake feature, most people would check it out, man. I remember Black Boy JB. Nobody really knew who he was. Drake did the feature, Look Alive, and all of a sudden the record is doing insane numbers. That's when Drake had that, that stimulus package where he could just do features and it would hit. So Drake hasn't really had that run like he, like he's normally used to. But I don't expect it from Drake anymore, really. I have no problem with him slowly falling off. The only problem is the timing of the fall off, right? After the whole Kendrick thing, to be falling off is probably one of the worst timings of fall off because eventually the fall off for Drake would happen. And what I mean, quote unquote, fall off, right? Drake has set this insane bar for himself and for most artists that his fall off would be doing 200,000 first week. When for a lot of artists, 95% of artists, that is doing really well. If you do 200,000 first week, you're doing amazing. But for certain artists, doing 200,000 first week isn't really that big of a deal, right? Because they just have this standard. And it kind of reminds me right now of just what happened. There was reports that Mr. Beast's video, his recent video, did 66 million views in a week. And they were like, that's a flop, quote unquote, because he usually does insane numbers, 100 million, 150, whatever numbers he does in a week, right? And I was like, damn, if I did 66 million views like in a week, I'd fucking lose my mind. But that's the standard that Mr. Beast has set, because he's gone to the next level of things. And usually people expect you with a certain standard, and that's what Drake would have a certain standard. But as time goes on, eventually everybody falls off as an artist. Some people drastically fall off where just everything flops the next album, and just like Roddy Ricch, sorry to disrespect him, but he has fallen off like musically. He had this insane first album and then all of a sudden. And then there's artists that gradually, slowly start to wind down because they're just getting older. The music isn't hitting like it once did, or people are just getting tired of hearing the artist. And I've always said Drake should take a break from music. Definitely take a break. Let us miss you because I know I would end up missing Drake after a couple of years. Right now, I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing him. I really don't care to check a lot of the new music. I do check it out when it drops, but I'm not like rushing to check it out because we're getting new Drake stuff like every fucking week, it feels like. So, we'll see what happens with this stuff, man. I think they both need each other regardless, Drake and Future. I think Metro Boomin's well off by himself because he is a producer and I think he can maneuver really well. But, hey, if anybody's going to, get them back together, it's somebody like Young Thug. I think he can be the one that can do it. So, we'll keep our eyes posted. We'll see what Drake says. Future retweeted it, so I'm sure if with that retweet, he's probably agreeing with it. Metro Boomin, I don't think he said anything either, so we'll see what happens moving forward. But I would like to see the reunion. I'm not against it at all. I think Drake and Future make amazing music. Drake and Metro Boomin as well, and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Updates on Diddy's bail appeal. Let's go over the article. Diddy's latest appeal for bail has been opposed by prosecutors who have cited concerns over the mogul potentially engaging in bribery and witness tampering. The bad boy boss has already been denied bail twice, but has continued to petition for his release from jail, where he has been since his arrest for sex trafficking and racketeering last month. In a legal filing on Wednesday, October 16th, prosecutors pointed to the serious and violent nature of Diddy's alleged crimes, as well as his alleged efforts to conceal them, while imploring the courts to uphold Judge Andrew Carter's previous denial of bail. The document specifically mentions Puffy's highly publicized 2016 assault on Cassie and his actions afterwards, including offering a hotel security officer a stack of cash in exchange for his silence, and directing his staff to contact other members of the hotel security staff to obtain the surveillance video. Prosecutors also point to the government's previous accusation that the mogul had contacted possible victims and witnesses either directly himself or through associates in an attempt to get them on his side. The most recent example of this allegedly occurred on September 14th, just days before Diddy was arrested. The filing further argues that Puffy's proposed $50 million bail package, which would see him confined to his home without access to a phone or the internet and monitored by a private security firm, would not sufficiently eliminate the risks of witness tampering or obstructing justice. This is because prosecutors say Diddy relied on a network of loyal associates to carry out some of his dirty work. Therefore, the proposed bail conditions would not stop him from doing so again. The ruling on the matter might be delayed, however, as Diddy's lawyers have asked to put the appeal on hold while they pursue a new bail hearing in U.S. District Court. In a separate filing this week, his legal team wrote, because relevant new information has come to light since Diddy's arrest, Mr. Combs intends to file a renewed motion for pretrial release on conditions with an updated proposed bail package in the District Court. Diddy is also petitioning the government to reveal identities. We talked about this before. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. I think they're going to deny him again. I mean, they're just going to keep trying. I don't know how many times can you try to get bail. Like, is that limitless? Let me see. How many times can you attempt to get bail? Let's see. This is in Georgia, so let's see. In Georgia, individuals and organizations are not allowed to post cash bail more than 3 times in a year. On length. Yeah, I guess it depends on your situation. Everybody has their own little different situations, I guess. And each state obviously has its own rules. But yeah, they just keep trying. They're not going to get it. I would be genuinely surprised if they do, but they're not going to get it. But hey, that's the update. They're going to keep prying and hoping that they can get the diddler out. But yeah, we'll keep our eyes posted. I've seen, who was the person that just said recently? Was it Ludacris? I don't want to throw that on Ludacris. Yeah, I forget who it is, but people are like, man, everybody's judging Diddy, without any factual information, this and that. And it's like, are people just genuinely stupid? I don't understand where these statements are coming from. If Kid Cudi says, hey, this guy blew up my car was blown up by this guy. If Cassie, there's video footage of her getting beat. If Cassie says these stories, obviously there needs to be a little bit more evidence in terms of sex trafficking and all that stuff. But listen, the guy's an abuser and the guy has blown up a person's car for, if the guy's willing to blow up somebody's car, the guy's willing to do a lot more different things. But there has been, I ain't gonna lie, there's just been insane misinformation online. There's especially on Twitter, man, it's run rampant. It's like fucking Facebook at this point. There are fake AI generated images of tunnels that Diddy has, quote unquote, under his house, and just a bunch of shit. And I'm like, dude, it's getting ridiculous, this fake information. So I don't know if these rappers or these celebrities are so damn old they can't tell the difference between the truth and what's false information, or they're just not even caring to look into the information. But, the guy is clearly does some type of dirt. Listen, if there's this many stories around this guy, rumors and stories, this guy is doing something. I don't know what it is 100% factually, but he is doing something wrong. Anybody that you know in your life, do they have rumors and stories around them like this? If you have a circle of friends, right? Like, who was that guy? The recent, I think he's a YouTuber or some type of influencer or singer or something. He got arrested for abusing a girl, and they arrested him, I think, in Australia or something like that. I forget his name. It's like something with the F. And everybody that was around him that was friends with him said, yeah, I could see him doing something like that because that's how he would act around women. So if you can see, if you can tell how somebody is around when you hang around with them and how they are around people and what their temper is like and stuff like that. So you could potentially see if the person could do something like that. And with all these damn stories going around, Diddy, clearly people can see that potential in him to do stuff like this. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Anyways, we'll continue on and see what happens moving forward. Uncle Luke, shout out to him. He celebrates the 2 Live crew reclaiming their music rights. So let's go over the article. This is interesting. Uncle Luke is celebrating 2 Live crew being awarded the rights to their music after winning a lengthy legal battle with their former record label. In an Instagram video filmed outside the Dade County Federal Courthouse on Wednesday, October 16th, the Southern hip-hop pioneer celebrated the group's trial victory over Lil Joe. I thought I said Lil Jon Records. I was like, Lil Jon, what the hell do you do to them? Lil Joe Records. Over the moon, they had reclaimed the master recording copyrights to their catalog. That is huge. So let's play this clip. I really want to see this.
Yo, what up? This yours truly, Uncle Luke, just leaving the federal courthouse. I got some good news for y'all. 2 Live crew, all of our albums, we won. We got all our shit back from Little Joe Weinberger. All of it. All the albums. We got them all back. Yes, we won. Hey, God is so good. You just got to believe in him.
That is fire, man. Round of applause, man. Congratulations to them. They deserve their catalog back. Let's go over a little bit of the article because I kind of skipped a little bit over. We won. He also posted he added this case was about getting back what was wrongfully taken away from us this morning. I am so happy for all of our kids. Now they can reap the benefits and the rewards of their parents' hard work. Exactly. The victory was also celebrated by the likes of Rick Ross, Jermaine Dupri, Arsenio Hall, D Nice, who applaud the news. Weinberger bought the rights to 2 Live Crew's master recordings out of bankruptcy for $800,000 back in 1995. Since then, he's been distributing the records and collecting royalties on sales and streams until 2020, when Luke and the other members of the group attempted to take back control of their publishing, citing the Copyright Act, which reverts ownership back to its creator after 35 years. Yeah, we've discussed this quite a few times. Weinberger argued that the 2 Live Crew had no right to terminate and that their albums were made as works for hire, meaning the group were employees of the record label. He also claimed that they signed away their right to reclaim the copyright when they sold him the master recordings. The jury overseeing the civil matter ruled in favor of Uncle Luke and 2 Live Crew. Congratulations to them, man. Yeah, shout out to Uncle Luke, too. He is one of the biggest reasons. I'm not going to say solely him, but he is, and I put this in my old video series that I had, how this person changed the music industry, and I put how Uncle Luke changed the music industry. He was one of the reasons that the parental advisory sticker was created. He is somebody that he wishes, he was like, I wish I patented it and, I could make royalties off every time the sticker was added. But if it wasn't for that sticker, music would be censored because he was fighting in court for music to be freedom of speech and for you to say whatever you wanted on music. And the courts were arguing that it's too vulgar, so then Uncle Luke basically came with a solution, as well as a few other people, that, hey, we slap a parental advisory explicit content sticker on there. That way there's a distinction between the clean music that doesn't have the curse words and the dirty music that has all the dirty words in it. So if it wasn't for him doing that and fighting for that freedom, who knows where hip-hop would be right now? Who knows where music would be right now? So big shout out to him, man. He is a legend just for that. Not even just the music. I mean, we can talk about the music and all that stuff, But just for that, he deserves the utmost praise. And I'm glad I made a video on him and gave him his flowers because he definitely deserves them. I think a lot of people overlook him or just, he's an more old school artist. So, a lot of people don't understand that history part of it. But big shout out to him, man. And I'm glad they got their rights back, man. That's exactly what they deserve because their kids, they work their asses off. So their kids deserve to reap the benefits of that even when they're long gone. So shout out to them, man. Big round of applause to them. Fat Joe appeared on Club Shay Shay. Now I know why Club Shay Shay is considered or was considered for a BET Hip Hop Award. I guess some hip hop artists appear on there, and hey, I guess it's a hip hop platform now. He talks about various things. He talks about losing Reebok deal because of his beefs, which I've heard before. He actually gives props to Kendrick Lamar's "Not Like Us" and says it's on the level of it's on the level of In the Club and Lean Back, which, it is a club banger. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. We have to wait to see how well this song is perceived 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 15 years, 20 years, stuff like that. It's too early to call right now. The song's only 5 months old, I think, or 6 months old, something like that. So way too early to call it, but I see what he's saying. It's a club banger and, stuff like that. He said that, and then he talks about this interesting incident. So let's watch the clip.
Did you ever go to bed and think, man, damn, man, tomorrow I might get run down on, man? God dang,
I had the cops on me. I had, the cops tried to frame me for like 3 times for murder. Like, this is a true story. I don't really talk about it, but framed. Like, shit I beat. Like, they were trying to get me out of there. The police was trying to get me out of there. The people was trying to get me out of there. It was like, what you call that? It was like public enemy number one.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was like, but my community loved me. They love Fat Joey. So they would protect me. When the cops came, the old ladies would let me in their house. They would save me all the time. But it was an adrenaline that I really, really loved. You know what I'm saying? And I started doing it through my music.
Shannon Sharp obviously is asking, do you think, people are trying to run down you because all the street stuff you're doing? Usually street stuff comes with karma eventually down the line. And you hear this a lot of times. Like even Kid mentioned, when I got shot, he was like, it's all, I think he said this in the first interview. It might have been just a conversation we had outside of the podcast, but he might have said it on the podcast. I could be wrong. But he did say that, hey, I was doing a lot of dirt in the streets, and eventually the karma came toward me, and I accepted that karma, right? Sometimes, hey, something's going to come towards you. As long as you survive it, you move on, and you don't do more dirt. For the most part, you should be good, right? That's your karma, and that's it. So when, Shannon Sharp saying, did you think you were going to get run down, potentially killed because all the stuff you're doing? Fat Joe's like, no, because the police were on my ass. And they tried to frame him for 3 different murders. That is insane. And back then, police were grimy dirty. No cameras to back, anything up. Back then, they would frame people like it was nothing. Now, even now, with cameras, they try to do sleazy shit. Not saying all police officers, by the way. I don't want to paint all police officers as bad, but there is, I want to say 20, 30% of really bad police officers that want to frame people that just want to do harm and not do good. I saw footage, I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, there's body cam footage of this guy that got pulled over. They found a bunch of cash on him. He had some type of warrant. It was like a simple warrant. It wasn't anything major. But he had to go, in jail. And he knew the amount of money he had on him. And this police officer took the money and put it in the passenger seat while he was in the back of the seat. And as he took him out of the car, the police officer stole a couple $100 from the wad. But here's the thing: the guy heard the rubber band on the money snap. So he kind of like was thrown off, and then I don't know how he caught it, I forgot, but basically the cop had it in his door. Those what is it called on the door of the car? Those little cup holders on the side, like the bottom part where you can, like, it's a little place where you can store stuff, a little storage place. He had the money there, and they caught him red-handed. He had to get fired, everything, and that's on camera. You have a body cam on you and you're doing sleazy shit like that. Now imagine when these cameras were off, what the fuck was happening, right? So I believe wholeheartedly Fat Joe on this, and obviously if he never beat that, or if he actually got accused of those things, he would never be here right now with what he's done with his career. And, you know, the community was obviously backing him up too, so he says he was part of the community. A lot of people loved him. So insane story, man. A lot of these people, these artists go through a lot of different things, man. Hip Hop Police is a real thing. I don't know if he was, you know, he does talk about he was somewhat of a star at that moment. Obviously, he was alongside Big Pun, who's the real superstar at that moment. But, you know, Hip Hop Police is a real thing. And I've always wanted to do a documentary on it. And I will in the future just talk about, you know, what they've done and what kind of things that they try to plan on artists. But yeah, interesting story, man. Check out the interview. It's really, really good. Almost 2 hours long, 1 hour and 44 minutes. So if you get some time, go ahead and check it out. Gucci, he announced something really interesting. And I wanted to talk about this because this is the reality of owning a record label. So let's play the video clip.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Listen, I wanted to make this announcement on 10/17 yesterday, but I just seen like my statement, my P&L with all my artists. You know, it's almost like a whole bunch of shakeup and it's a whole shit show in the industry right now. But when I'm looking at my P&L and me being a businessman, I think that I'm gonna have to release almost all my artists except for Pooh Shiesty and Fujiano. This is a decision I didn't want to make. I thought about it, you know what I'm saying? I could keep all of them under the contract. But I said, hey, fuck it. Let's just make the unselfish decision and, let them take their talents elsewhere. So today, you know what I'm saying, I already reached out to all of my artists, you know what I'm saying, to their lawyers and whatever, and let them know that they're free to take their talents elsewhere. And I'm still looking for new talent to pair up with, you know what I'm saying, Pooh and Fu, and that's where I'm gonna put my focus. And I just wish them the best. And I just want to let everybody know that, because hey, that's where we at.
Interesting take from Gucci Mane. First off, he's dealt with like a lot of artists dying. That's the first thing. Second, a lot of artists getting locked up. So obviously that's going to impact, how you're doing with sales and stuff like that, especially when an artist is on a run. Here's the number one issue. He mentioned Pooh Shiesty and Fujiano. Those are the only two artists that I've seen on that label get major hits, especially Pooh Shiesty. Pooh Shiesty was on a run. But both these artists were morons in how they were moving. They were toting guns. They were doing all kinds of crazy shit. You can't do that when you're an artist at that point. You got to leave the streets alone. I think Gucci should have handled that a little bit better, kind of oversaw that a lot more. But of course, you can't, as much as you can try to help somebody in their mind, they do whatever they want to do at the end of the day. He's not babysitting them. They are grown men in their own right. So dropping everybody else makes sense. The P&L shit, when you see that, profit and losses, it screws with you. It messes up your whole thing. And I agree, man. Just starting a label is hard, and then maintaining it and having artists perform. Major record labels don't show you, but they lose on a shit ton of artists, but they win major on whatever artists they win, right? So they probably lose on 100 artists, but that one artist that they win major on makes up for those 100 losses. That's just how the system goes. It's like a gamble. You just, hey, I like this artist. Let's try to push him. Boom, not working. I like her. Let's try to push her. Boom, not working. I like him. Let's push him. Boom, not working. And then the fourth one, I like him. Boom, it skyrockets, right? So that's the same thing with Gucci's label. He's probably had like 15 artists by now, at least on the new 1017. And who are the ones that were major ones? Pooh Shiesty and Fujiano. Those are the only two that I know that were like delivering hits. I know both their hits. So if I know them, then most of the people I'm sure know them. The problem is, though, Fujiano was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2021, and Pooh Shiesty was sentenced as well. And he's not getting out till January 2026, so Fujiano is probably getting out around the same time as well. So for the next two to 3 years, Gucci's kind of, unless he signs new artists, which he said he's going to do potentially, he's going to have to chill until those artists come out. And will people be actually interested in hearing Fujiano's music and Pooh Shiesty's music at that time? Or will people say, hey, we've heard your music, you pretty much did what you could have to offer, and we move on? Who knows? I don't know, because a lot of artists that have gone away for a while and come back, people don't really rock with. Kevin Gates, I enjoyed his music when he came back, but Kevin Gates never really reached that level that he was at before he got locked up. Isla, the first debut album, Two Phones went like triple platinum. What's the other record? Not the only one that went platinum. Or not the only one, but Two Phones and I got two. What's the other record, man? Really, really, that went like platinum. So he was on a run. Double platinum, triple platinum. Album went platinum with no features, just like J. Cole. He was on a run, then gets locked up. And that stints it for the next 2 years. It's just like, because you can't do interviews, you're not in public out there. But when he came back, he did pretty decent. You know, he did it. He had a gold album after that, but it wasn't like, it's hard to get that momentum back because you only make, especially in the mainstream eyes, you can only make one first impression. After that, you got to maintain, you know, your stardom because that one hit gets you in the door. But then the next few hits that you get, make sure you stay in that room when you get in that through that door. So I don't know. Good luck to him, but that was interesting, man. It was cool of him to do that because it shows you that, you know, even these artists take losses. The one person that's really, really maximized their record label situation is Yo Gotti. Pretty much everybody on his label is winning and doing well. 42 Doug, Moneybagg Yo, Glorilla, Black Youngster at one point, but he hasn't been hot for a minute. Who else? I don't know who else he has on the label, but he's right now has the best artist run label right now, I think, in my eyes. I can't really think of any other one. Kendrick Lamar with PG Lang had Baby Keem. He's done well, but that's about it. Drake hasn't really pushed. Drake's probably the most disappointing one because at that level, you should be able to push OVO to like extreme heights. But that's what I'm saying. That's why I always go back to G Unit and how 50 handled that whole situation because he did it the best way you could possibly do it. And he, you know, built all of them to the point where they could go platinum on their own. So a lot of artists don't have that talent or that ability to do it. But, hey, it is what it is. I'm curious to see what Gucci does moving forward. But, hey, at least he let those artists go and they can do their own thing and, you know, see what happens moving forward. Dr. Dre, there's two things I want to talk about that were really interesting. Him and Snoop Dogg appeared on Stephen A. Smith's TV show or whatever online show that he has. And Dre said something really interesting. So let's play the clip.
I don't look back. I never listened to my old music or anything like that. I've never listened to my old music. I never let anybody play it around me. I feel like that's masturbation at the highest level.
I like to masturbate. And Dre and Fred have a show called Masturbators coming soon.
It's a fishing show by Matt Beer.
You're right.
No, but I just, I'm always thinking forward. I don't live my life with a rear view mirror. I'm always thinking forward. I don't give a fuck about what I did or what's in the past. I guess I'll sit down with my grandkids at some point.
Man, this nigga ain't never listened to The Chronic from top to bottom. We ain't never listened to Doggy Style from top to bottom.
I've never listened to any of the music I've done.
Me and him together have never listened to it.
Wow. I think it's going to be a fun experience going back and listening to just like everything that I've done in the trajectory and how I've grown musically.
Let's start with Doggy Style before we put Missionary out so we can make sure it's all the way right.
How about that? Make sure it's all the way right.
I can't do that.
And
Missionary.
That is crazy to hear that Dr. Dre hasn't listened to his old music at all. I mean, he has to perform it here and there whenever he performs, but to not just go back and listen to it. I'm the same way, though. Here's the thing. My documentaries, I haven't watched a single one of my documentaries in full since they've been released. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Because I make it, I put all my blood, sweat, and tears into it, put it out there, never watch it again. I sometimes forget what I even say. People remind me on Twitter and say, hey, you said this. What about this opinion? Opinions change over time, guys, too. Remember, some of the videos that people send to me are like from 2019. I'm like, dude, it's been 5 years. Like, my opinion is going to change as time goes on. That's just the reality. But I even don't watch my own videos and stuff that I put out because, you know, if you're a creative and you're a person that's putting out content and stuff, whether it's music, whether it's videos, whatever, you do just want to find the next thing. You want to put your all you can into this current project. Once it's out, you did all you could and move on and go to the next thing. Because if you're sitting here in your glory, if I was sitting here and being like, oh my God, my Nipsey Hussle documentary did 4 million views and I'm just watching it and embracing it every time, you're not really going to move on to the next thing. So I agree with Dr. Dre there, but I do think what they should do would be interesting is they should listen to their old classic albums together on like a YouTube channel where they're reacting to it, right? And, you know, talking about it. I think that would be really cool because they haven't listened to The Chronic from top to bottom together or Doggy Style together ever. At least that's what Dr. Dre says. So that was interesting. Another thing in this interview that was interesting, Dr. Dre said that he likes the idea of one producer on an album. And he says he doesn't like when there's like a multiple producers on one album. It just doesn't bode well with him, right? And Snoop Dogg, called out the originality in hip hop, that there hasn't really been anything original out there. Everybody's copying and pasting, which he said multiple times as the years went on.
I just love getting in the studio with people that I love to get down with. That's all it is to it. As corny or as generic as that may sound, that's just what I do.
What would y'all tell an artist today that, you're an aspiring artist, you want to make it, you want to get in the room and put that work in?
Be original. Be original, because right now it's so much copycat, mimicking, sounding alike, imitation. Be original. Find your voice. Find your production sound. Find your ear for who you are, and be original. Even if it ain't hitting, stay you.
Find your collaborator. I don't like the fact that there's like 9 different producers on one album. I like the idea of one producer on one album. The continuity is everything.
Yeah, where did that come from? Where did it come from where you got cats that want to be with 9 different producers on one album and stuff like that? When the hell did that start?
I don't know. I don't know, but I don't like it. If you're a producer, you should be able to produce the entire album. That's what I thought it was supposed to be.
Right.
That's what I was doing at the beginning.
There's a lot of beat makers though, Doc. That's what the difference between your era and this era is, that there aren't too many producers as much as there are beat makers. It's so easy to make beats. They're giving you all these computer package that has the drum loop, has this, y'all had to make the loop.
I feel like it's a change that's happening right now, from all this mumble rap thing and everything that's happening right now. There's somebody in somebody's garage that's happening right now that's going to be the next Snoop or Dre or next Prince or Michael Jackson or whatever, that's coming up with something that's going to change the game. It's got to happen right now, and it's wide open, because everything that's happening right now in the music game is especially hip hop is weird as fuck.
But I wanted to talk about that, because I actually thought about it. I was like, listen, what are my classic albums? What are my favorite albums? My favorite album of all time is obviously Get Rich or Die Trying. Is that produced by one producer? No. But what is my favorite? Eminem's Relapse and Eminem's Eminem Show album are mainly produced by Dr. Dre and Eminem. They have a mixture, right? They both do the thing. So it's not really 2 producers. I don't really consider Eminem a producer, but he had his own little part in it. And I really love those albums. But you got to really think, what albums do you really love that are produced by solely one producer? Off the top of my head, it's really hard to think, besides those Eminem albums, at least that you would consider classics. That's I got to put that out there. Not just like regular albums, but things that you would consider classics. I do think if an artist and the producer have great chemistry together, they should make, a full album together. Who's a good example? Chief Keef and Young Chop. I wish when Chief Keef dropped Finally Rich, which I still love Finally Rich, but mainly Young Chop produced that. Those two are a great duo. Drake and 40, great duo. Eminem, Dr. Dre, great duo. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, great duo. I don't know, 50 with a straight Dr. Dre Dr. Dre produced album, fully Dr. Dre produced album. That would be interesting. But here's the thing: Pharrell offered to produce an album entirely by 50, but 50 denied it. He said, I don't like my albums being produced by one producer. He actually said that before, so that was disappointing. Who else offered? I think Birdman offered to executive produce this album. Who else? I don't remember I think there was one more person that offered. But, it just depends, man. It depends on the artist. Some artists do better with features on their albums. Some artists don't. Some artists, like, for me, Kevin Gates, I don't want him to have features on his albums. I really like him as a solo artist. And then there's some artists where I just can't listen to solo and I need features on there. There has to be some type of features on there. But hey, everything is different. Whatever works for you. But I do think when Dr. Dre said, hey, in order to be consider yourself a producer, you have to be able to do the whole album. I do agree with that. I think if you can't do a whole album with an artist at least one time and have it work really well, then you're not really a producer. You're just a beat maker. Let's just say that. But interesting conversation, man. Think about that, guys. What is an album that you think is a classic that is solely produced by one producer? I go with the Eminem Show and Relapse, but I can't. Maybe I'm missing something. I know people are going to comment and be like, what about this one? I'm probably missing something 100%. But to me, those are like, I don't really consider like if you don't know, I don't use the word classic lightly. Even with Eminem's Relapse and Eminem Show, they're like 9.5. They're not 10 out of 10s to me. They're not classics officially. Now, will that change as the years go on? Potentially. But to me, they're like in the 9.5 range, almost classics. They got like 1 or 2 tracks that I was like, eh. For me to consider something a classic, I have to like every single track, never be able to skip, and I just love everything about it. So that's my standard for classics, but I know other people have different standards. So think towards your standard of a classic. Think, what is a classic album that's been produced by just solely one producer? I really want to see what people think about that, what they say. But the only ones I can, off the top of my head, is the Eminem projects. I think let me see, I might be wrong. Jay-Z, did he have Just Blaze or something to produce one album or something like that? Or I doubt it, but he did have like a run where he was solely focusing on certain producers. Because I don't, yeah, Just Blaze was a lot on a lot of projects and tracks, but not even just Blaze. He had obviously Timbaland and a bunch of people, but yeah, I don't know. I can't think of, let me see, hip hop albums produced by one producer. Hip hop albums produced by one producer. Savage Mode 2, The College Dropout, which is Kanye West, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Here are the best hip hop albums created by one producer. Yeah, Savage Mode 2, Kanye West, College Dropout, okay. Currency, The Alchemist, Carlton Heights, okay. Boldy James, The Alchemist, okay. Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style, Juvenile, 400 Degrees, okay. Hot Boys, Benny Fresh, Guerrilla Warfare, Pusha T and Kanye West, Daytona, that was pretty good. Key and Kenny Beats, 777, Royce 59 DJ Premier Prime, okay. MF Doom and Madlib, Mad Villain, oh, okay. Oh, Andre 3000, Love Below, interesting. Wu-Tang, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, okay, that is a classic. Pinata as well, Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. A lot of people consider that a classic. Jay-Z and No ID. Okay, so I knew Jay-Z had. I just forgot what album. So No ID solely produced 444. But do people really like 444? Yeah, there's a few albums here and there that are produced by one producer, but hey, I don't know if you can consider Eminem ones because Eminem produced as well. So is it really one producer? But I still consider it because I don't really consider Eminem a producer, quote unquote. He does make beats, but I don't know. It's a thin line between that. But let me know what you guys think, man. I think it's an interesting conversation. I do agree with Dr. Dre, though. I think one producer is probably one of the best things that you can have. Let's get into new music. Yeet dropped Lifestyle, the album. This is a Drake and Spanish record that I was talking about. Drake, Chino Picaz, and Furza Regida. I hope I'm pronouncing those right. Hood Capone. It's not a great record at all. Tyler, the Creator, and Daniel Caesar, Saint Chroma. Future, Coco Jones, and London on the track. Most Beautiful Design. Ian, Goodbye Horses, the album. WizKid and Brent Fias, Piece of My Heart. Absol, All That, featuring Jason Martin and Thirsty P. Ice Cube, It's My Ego. Great record. West Coast having its own fun. ASAP Ferg, ITIWO. I don't know what that is. So those are the new music. Album sales, Coldplay debuted at number 1 with Moon Music at 114,000 sold first week. Great numbers, man. Coldplay's been around for a minute, so shout out to them. Number 2, Sabrina Carpenter, Short and Sweet, 95,000. Number 3, Chappelle Roan, The Rise and Fall of Midwest Princess with 55,000. Number 4, Morgan Wallen, One Thing at a Time with 51,000. Number 5, Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, 49,000. Number 6, Taylor Swift, Tortured Poets Department with 44,000. Number 7, Post Malone, F1 Trillion with 44,000. Number 8, Future, Mixtape Pluto with 39,000. Number 9, Noah Khan, Stick Season with 35,000. Morgan Wallen, Dangerous Double Album, number 10 at 31,000. Going down the list, SZA, SOS, number 13 with 30,000. Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady, number 23 with 21,000. Drake, For All the Dogs, number 28 with 19,000. Travis Scott, Utopia, number 29 with 18,000. Eminem, Curtain Call, number 30 with 18,000. Future, Metro Boomin, We Don't Trust You, number 31 with 18,000. Going down the list, Kendrick Lamar, Damn, number 44 with 16,000. Moneybagg Yo, Speak Now, number 47 with 15,000. T Grizzly debuted at number 48 with Post Traumatic, selling 15,000 first week. Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City, debuted at number 49. Not debuted, sorry. Is at number 49 with 15,000 as well sold. Yeah, and that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. Appreciate you all. Spotify, Deezer, Pocket Cast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.